he was in charge of the St. Andrew's Cafe, which was trying to do the sort of things that I now try to do. And he's now the head chef at Yale University and doing some wonderful work there. I don't think I've ever met a more friendly, wonderful person than him. Ron is just a real gentleman as a chef. And finally, there is Karl Guggenmoss, who's a Bavarian master chef. And he and I are great friends. We talk to each other once a week on Saturdays. And we both share the same faith. We're both Christian people, and we don't believe in hammering people with our faith. We believe in living it and responding if anybody asks us why we live like we do. And he's tremendous. And he invited me to Johnson and Wales University to teach. And after several events there and several things that we did, they awarded me an honorary doctorate in culinary nutrition. So, and the students called that culinary nutrition is shortened to Cool and Nut. So I became Dr. Cool Nut. That's a way of taking a swollen head off your shoulders and putting it under your arm. It was a wonderful time, and I really enjoyed it and learned a great deal during that stage. Okay, does that make sense?
Another question?
Yes.
Bone Apple Tea would like to know, how many pairs of suspenders do you own?
Oh, how many pairs? I had 113 pairs of suspenders once, and they're down to 3 now. I actually packaged those off and sent those to some charities who wanted to raise money on my suspenders. These were all Trina's problem. This is Tommy Highfinger's, suspenders. These are, if I was wearing a white shirt, which wouldn't be happy for the cameras, I would be patriotic today, especially. This is the day when all of us who've been somewhat separated need to come together, and so that's why I thought I would celebrate. I can go red, white, and blue, and still be true to the fact that I was born in London. We still share red, white, and blue, but then so do the French, which doesn't prove anything. Okay, so let us look then at my next idea, which is it's an omelette, and the omelette is going to be a very interesting moment, because the very first cooking demonstration in the world was done in, I think it was done in Edinburgh. I'm not sure of the location, might have been London. But it was done by a chef by the name of Marcel de Solier. And he did that, as far as I can see from the dates, in the year that I was born. So that was 83 years ago. So people say, weren't you one of the first culinary people on television? I'm sure not. But I was just alive at the time when he made an omelette on experimental black and white television in a studio set, not over distance. And he made an omelette. And uniquely, the very first dish that I ever made was an omelette. And that was the program within 3 or 4 weeks of the start of television in New Zealand, which was way back in those days. Okay, my daughter just came up with a great idea. This is about as close as you can get to a selfie. I want to take a little of this sauce and just a little bit of the pasta, and ask my new friend on the camera.
Oh, we're about to do this right now.
Okay, this is a selfie.
Oh gosh, I don't have the camera set up for this.
Are you there?
Hey, it's gone around.
Okay,
oh,
nah, it's hot, too hot.
Yeah, that's great.
It's great. It's not just great. It's just
no, it's the perfect temperature.
Rolls around your palate.
It is rolling around right now.
Oh, did it? Okay. Okay.
That's pretty good.
Cool. That was cool. In a moment, I'm going to take over the camera, and he's going to do the omelette.
Got this.
All right, good. Okay, well that I've got on one side. So for this, I have here on this small cup that I've had in some water. This is called, for some reason, a bain Marie, which means Mary's bath. Now I have no idea who Mary was or why her bath has, but apparently this is the term used. You get a container, you put some hot water into the saucepan, and you warm up the sauce. Oh gosh, that's good. And it's all ready to be able to use now. That's the technique. All right. So we've got this, that was the sweet potato sauce, and here are the decks for that. That I want on one side because we're going to be using it. Cheers. Ooh. Mm. Whilst I'm at it, people would say, weren't you sloshed when you did the Galloping Gourmet? I mean, really, because you would pour wine throughout the whole thing. And yes, I did have real wine. We got through 1,000 bottles of wine in that series. But people said, how could you possibly remember all of what you had to do and do what you did and everything else? Or was it that you were just basically sloshed? And my answer was, I only ever had about 3 sips per program. And that was the commercial breaks. See, commercial break was necessary in the United States, but when it sold to the BBC in England, there were no commercial breaks. So I didn't want to say, back in a moment, or be back in a moment. Well, I had to do something instead of saying that. So what I would do, I'd get a hold of the wine glass and I'd say, hey, time for a short slurp. And then I would put it down on the counter. And that's the point at which they would edit the program. That counter, there was like a clapperboard down on the counter, and then they would go to back, and then they would fill that in with the commercial breaks, and then it would come back in again. And I would put the thing down again. Anyway, so I was always having a short slurp. So people, that's the reason why they thought that I must be, 2 parts before the wind, but I wasn't. They actually called me the Dean Martin of the kitchen at one stage. Okay, so let's get the pan on the heat for the omelette. And I think, Suzanne, can I ask you what the first numbers thing that we have up there is? Is that the mac and cheese? I think it is. It's the numbers. It should be on the top right-hand side of the paper.
Oh, yeah.
Mac and cheese. Yeah, no, not that. It's actually on the green thing. It's probably obscured if you pull it down just a little bit.
Mac and cheese.
Mac and cheese. Okay, let's do that before I get into the omelette. Let's have a look at the mac and cheese, shall we? And see what it looks like. So I've got a slightly warm plate there. You might have noticed that I was running around with very hot plates in the series that I've been doing with you. And they were very hot because I wanted them really hot. And this would have taken a bit more time to do, so this is reasonably cool. So I'm now going to place that mac and cheese on there, and that's what I am going to evaluate as a portion. Now there's no cheese on there at the moment, so let me take, this is Parmesan cheese, right? And I want to add Parmesan cheese to that dish so that when you actually, see it's quite hot, and now we're adding the cheese to the surface. And I found out that a tablespoonful of cheese, grated in that way, will have enough aroma from the hot pasta coming up to make you feel like, wow, you know, this has got a whole bunch of cheese in it. And when you stir that in, the aroma itself can do a great deal of benefit in that one. So that's what I do. I also like to put a little dusting of smoked paprika on the top as well. Just like that. All right. Now, for those people who are vegan, this is a cheddar, medium cheddar style thing called daya. And this